So we have a new talking point about coronavirus vaccines that is getting oxygen. And the talking point is these are not vaccines. They are, and then you can kind of choose your own adventure. They aren't vaccines. They are DNA modifiers. They aren't vaccines. They are gene therapies, genetic therapies, and there's a few other versions of it. And it's actually been around for some time, but it's now catching on more and more. Let's listen to former Trump advisor and Breitbart propagandist Steven Bannon making this claim on his show, some kind of show that he has. Let's take a listen to this.
Actual conversation and debate. These are not technically vaccines, right? The first ones are they're experimental gene therapies. Every scientist I've talked to admits that. And here, why can't you even? And I'm not an anti-vaxxer. We're the ones, and look, this show is specialized in whether you think it's a bioweapon from the Wuhan lab that either they let out on purpose or inadvertently escaped, or if you think it's a total hoax.
So Steve Bannon there also actually gets into the virus is a bioweapon stuff. But I mean, we can't do everything in one clip. Let's focus on what he said about vaccines because it's more relevant. Whether or not you believe the virus is a bioweapon, I don't think that impacts your interest in a vaccine. If you believe that the vaccines aren't really vaccines, that might actually impact whether you want a vaccine. So let's focus on that. Steve Bannon says, these are not technically vaccines. They are experimental gene therapies. And this has been floating around. And the kernel of this, where does this come from? The kernel is that with a so-called normal vaccine or so-called real vaccine, the body is developing immunity on the basis of a deactivated or weakened virus that is in the vaccine. And that is what generates the immune response. Now, these mRNA vaccines, messenger RNA vaccines, they don't contain deactivated virus, but they contain sequenced virus and instructions that they say, quote, modify your DNA. That's the talking point. It's a DNA modification. But let's go piece by piece. First of all, Steve says it's experimental. What does he mean by that? I don't know. mRNA vaccine research has been going on for decades. They've been studied for flu, Zika, rabies, and CMV vaccination. So experimental, not really. It's been studied for decades. Second, and this is probably the key part, the mRNA vaccine contains instructions for your body to make the spike protein that the coronavirus has. So the idea is your body makes all these spike proteins. If you get the live virus in you, the body recognizes that protein because the mRNA vaccine already told the body how to make it. It doesn't make you sick because it quickly dispatches with the real virus. Okay. Where they get it's not a vaccine is that it is not a weakened or deactivated virus that is triggering your body to make the spike protein. It is messenger RNA, mRNA, triggering your body to make the spike protein. That doesn't mean it's not a vaccine. It's merely a different method of achieving the same thing. So it's not experimental. It is a vaccine. It's not a gene therapy, and it doesn't alter your DNA. Everything Steve Bannon says is untrue. Now let's continue to another piece of the clip, which is equally lie-riddled. Take a look at this.
They're going to get to a point very quickly. If you don't have the vaccine, you're not going to get the vaccine passport. And in other words, you're not going to be able to get on a plane. You're not going to be able to get on public transportation. Basically, you're not going to be able to hold a job. Okay? And yet they don't want any debate whatsoever. Not from people that are anti-vaxxers, but people just have legitimate, hey, can you walk me through this again? What phase of this is really in testing? It's got emergency authorized use by the FDA.
So now he goes into it will be mandatory vaccination as evidenced by an airline might say, if you want to fly with us, you need a vaccine certificate. Or Live Nation or Ticketmaster or whoever might say, if you want to come to a concert at one of our venues for which we sell tickets, you need a vaccine certificate. First of all, that's not the government making anything mandatory, and it's not the government doing anything at all. Those are private companies. Second, is Steve Bannon saying that the government gets to tell private companies you can't require proof of vaccination? Is that, I mean, these are small government free market conservatives who seem to want it to be made illegal by the government for a private company to say, if you want to avail yourself of our product or service, we require you to show proof of vaccination. If requiring vaccination is bad for, like, imagine Delta or JetBlue says, after September 1, after January 1, you need to be vaccinated to fly with us, which they haven't done, by the way. Maybe they would. If they do that and it's a bad business idea, the market will punish them because all of the unvaccinated people who want to fly will switch from Delta or JetBlue to some airline that doesn't require a vaccine. That's the market. Well, what if every airline requires a vaccine? Then the free market has created an opportunity for a new airline to come in and take all the customers that want to fly without being vaccinated. That's how right wingers sell us on the magic and efficiency and perfection of free markets. And yet now they're using, yes, conspiracy theories that aren't going to become a thing to, I guess, argue for the exact opposite, which would be very heavy-handed regulation by a government they tend to claim shouldn't be involved in regulating private industry unless absolutely and completely necessary. These people are not just pathetic, but they're spreading dangerous conspiracy theories that reduce the number of people who might want the vaccine. And it's like whack-a-mole. It's getting harder and harder. In fact, I even have, as a visual aid, I even have my gavel. It is like playing whack-a-mole here, trying to tamp down all of these different conspiracy theories. And Steve Bannon's certainly not making any easier. We will have more coverage of this and other vaccine-related conspiracy theories on our Instagram at David Pakman Show, and you can follow me on Instagram as well at david.pakman. One of our sponsors, PureVPN, is giving you 47% off a 1-year plan, which comes out to less than $6 a month. PureVPN makes you anonymous online, and you can trust them. They're the only VPN with an always-on third-party audit, verifying that your internet activity is not being logged. PureVPN keeps you safe from hackers, prevents you from being spied on by your ISP, social media companies, government surveillance. It lets you stream shows and movies that aren't available in your country. PureVPN is super fast with over 6,500 servers, and you can use it on all of your devices with 10 devices logged in at the same time. You can try it for a week for just 99 cents, and you'll get 47% off a 1-year plan, which is less than $6 a month when you go to davidpakman.com/VPN. The link is under this video, and you'll even get an additional 10% off when you use the code PAKMAN.